The Nixon Presidential Library and Museum presents a selection from the White House tapes, Conversation 741-2, which took place on June 23, 1972.
That's fine. Now, on the investigation, the Democratic break-in thing, we're back in the problem area because the FBI is not under control because Gray doesn't exactly know how to control it. And their investigation is now leading into some productive areas because they've been able to trace the money, not through the money itself, but through the bank, sources, the banker itself, and it goes some directions we don't want it to go. Also, there have been some things like an informant came in off the street to the FBI in Miami with there's a photographer who has a friend who's a photographer who developed some films for this guy Parker. And the films had pictures of Democratic National Committee letterhead documents and things. So there's things like that that are filtering in. Mitchell came up with yesterday, and John Dean analyzed very carefully last night and concurs now with Mitchell's recommendation that the only way to solve this, and we're set up beautifully to do it, in that the only network that paid any attention to last night was NBC, who did a massive story on the Cuban thing and all. But the way to handle this now is for us to have Walters call Pat Gray and just say, stay the hell out of this. This is business here. We don't want you going any further. That's not an unusual development. And that would take care of it. Pat does want to. He doesn't know how to, and he doesn't have any basis for doing it. Given this, he will then have the basis. He'll call Mark Felt in, and the two of them. And Mark Felt wants to cooperate because he's ambitious. They'll call them in and say, "We've gotten the signal across the river to put the hold on this," and that'll fit rather well because the FBI agents who are working the case at this point feel that's what it is. Is a CIA, but they're tracing the money to. Well, they've traced it to a name that they haven't got to the guy yet. Money here, Ken Dahlberg. And the fellow Ken Dahlberg said he gave $25,000 in Minnesota, and the check went directly in to this guy Parker. Maybe he's he didn't. I mean, this is from the committee. Always expand. Yeah. It's directly traceable. There's some more through some Texas people that went to the Mexican bank, which they can also trace through the Mexican bank. They'll get their names today. And, well, I mean, there's no way. I'm just thinking, if they don't cooperate, what do they say? That they were approached by the Cubans, and that's what Dahlberg has to say, and the Texans too. If they will, but then we're relying on more and more people all the time. It's the problem. And they'll stop if we take this other step. And they seem to feel the thing to do is to get them to stop. Right, fine. And they say the only way to do that is the White House instruction. And that it's got to be to Helms and what's his name? Walters. And the proposal would be that Erwin and I call him in. All right, fine. And say, how do you call them in? Well, we protected Helms on a hell of a lot of things. That's what everything starts. This is hunt. That'll uncover a lot of legal scan. There's a hell of a lot of things, and then we just feel that this would be very detrimental to have this thing go any further. This involves the Cubans and a lot of hanky-panky that we have nothing to do with ourselves. What the hell did Mitchell know about this thing? I think so. I don't think he knew the details, but I think he did know how he handled it with Dahlberg and Texas and so forth. Well, who is the asshole that did it? Is it Liddy? Is that the fellow? He must be a little nuts. Yeah. I mean, he just isn't well screwed on, is he? Isn't that a problem? No, he was under pressure, apparently, to get more information, and as he got more pressure, he pushed the people harder to move harder under pressure from Mitchell, apparently. Oh, Mitchell is the client that you made on this, but what I need to do is, yeah. All right, I understand it all. We won't say the FBI interviewed Colson yesterday. They determined that would be a good thing to do, to have him take an interrogation, which he did. And that the FBI guys working the case had concluded that there were one or two possibilities. One, that this was a White House. They don't think there's anything about the election committee. They think it was either a White House operation that had some obscure reasons for it, non-political, or was the Cubans and the CIA. And after their interrogation of Colson yesterday, they concluded it was not White House, so they're now convinced it's a CIA thing. So the CIA turnoff would. Well, I must not have turn off since I know that. They don't want you to. You call me. Good deal. Play it, that's the way they play it. That's the way we're going to play it. Okay.
For more information, please visit www.nixonlibrary.gov.